Hi, I'm Noah. This summer my wife and I are having twins. I can't believe they're going to be born into a world where both the Yankees and the Lakers are reigning world champions. My father's birthday was last week. He's 59 now, which I guess is pretty young for a grandfather these days. Well, not in Alaska. My father was born in 1951. I was born in 1976. Now, those 25 intervening years were hugely momentous in American history, as I hardly need tell you. And growing up, I thought that my childhood was really different from my father's childhood. I mean, when my father was born, there was no such thing as an astronaut. The only man in America with long hair was Mo Howard, and Richard Nixon was a freshman senator. The number one song the week that my father was born was Too Young by Nat King Cole. The number one song the week I was born was, absolutely seriously, Afternoon Delight by Starland Vocal Band. Yes, it's kind of creepy to have that as the number one song the week you were born, but it would be worse if it were the number one song the week I was conceived. Even though I'm almost 34, to me the distance between the 70s and today seems much shorter than the distance between the 50s and the 70s. Now obviously that's not actually true, and the more I think about it, the more I see that's not even true in that fake true, yeah but it feels true kind of way. I mean, when I was born, the president was Gerald Ford, a decent man of moderate politics, too moderate for the tastes of many in his party, who became president following the term of a disastrous, scandal-ridden presidency led by a staggeringly corrupt man who waged a stupid, illegal war and then tried to take credit for ending it. Today, for President Obama, etc., etc., etc. But seriously, when I was a kid, we had a black and white TV. I lived in a town with a Woolworths that had a lunch counter in it. I mean, not like a segregated lunch counter, but still, lunch counter. I was just as afraid of nuclear war with Russia as my father was at my age. The Bugs Bunny cartoons on TV were the same ones that they ran in the 50s. The safety pins my grandparents used to fasten my father's diapers were exactly the same as the ones my parents used on mine. This is called a snappy. This is what we will be using to fasten our children's diapers. It will hold the diaper in place without the risk of poking that a safety pin brings. It's safer than a safety pin. The future is now. But what about TV? Beyond the fact that our TV set is in color and has hundreds of channels, there are now multiple channels devoted entirely to children's programming. New, high-quality, well-produced, tested programming that educates and entertains. When I was a kid, PBS ran Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, and The Electric Company. Now Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers were producing new episodes, but the Electric Company stopped making new shows in 1977. So when I was watching in the early 80s, I was seeing parodies of Mark Spitz and Easy Rider and stuff. And beyond PBS, most children's programming was, as I said, those old Looney Tunes cartoons from World War II with references that flew way over my head and the occasional horrific ethnic stereotype. I mean, when I was a kid, the only example I had on TV of, like, life of the American teenager was Welcome Back Kotter reruns. And as you may recall, the teenagers on Welcome Back Kotter were all played by men well into their 40s. Whereas today, there are all kinds of shows made for young children about slightly older children and all about high school and teenage life and the way that teenagers will break into song at the drop of a hat. But of course, the big difference is the internet. When my brother and I were kids, many a family dinner would bring up some question about science or history or what have you, and my father would go and get out the encyclopedia and we'd all look up the answer together. Now, will this all be done on an iPhone at my family dinner table? I mean, what happens if we run across some wiki vandalism and my kids grow up thinking that George Washington's middle name was Sticky Pants? Some of my fondest memories of childhood are when my father would let me use his electric typewriter or his tape recorder to make some sort of a record of my thoughts, but I mean, look at this. Here I am using a computer to make a movie that is then put on a global computer network to be seen by literally dozens of people. And this will be perfectly commonplace for my children. I mean, since we live thousands of miles away from their grandparents, the twins will probably see them via Skype a lot more often than they see them in person, assuming my parents figure out how to turn on the volume on their computer. And when I tell my kids about some of the bizarre things we had when I was little, like landline telephones and VCRs with big clunky tapes and postage stamps that you had to lick, they're going to seem just as odd to them, if not odder, as did my father's stories about 10-cent candy bars and teachers warning him about kids who were hospitalized from horrific accidents caused by doing the twist. At some point, my kids will find me incredibly quaint. But until then, I'm Noah Sticky Pants Smith. Bye.